Thank you again for giving me this opportunity to share with you the finding of this research. And the co-author is a colleague of mine at PolyU, Mr. Benny Kwok. Benny Kwok is a visiting fellow at our school. He teaches part-time, but he has a practice. He's a chartered accountant by training, and he also has a practice in forensic accounting. So we come from a professional perspective in analyzing the situation of fintech and its development in Hong Kong as a global financial center. The agenda is as follows. I think I'd like to take a different perspective. I'd like to give more background about Hong Kong as a GFC, and there will be additional details to the paper I have published. With that, I'd like to talk about the emergence of.
You're still going to do it all in 20 minutes, right?
Yes, I will be aware of that. The time I'm standing between you and the lunch, and I will share with you the way we structure the paper and the strategic responses by the Hong Kong government and the closing remarks okay. Very quickly, and we all know globalization has been happening for the past few decades. You look at the academic journals about globalization, there are a lot of explanation. What are the motives? Of course, economic benefits, cost-cutting measure, expanding market. However, we look at the situation in 2008. Many financial centers were affected. Of course, Hong Kong is one of them. Lehman Brothers mini bonds was a very popular product, financial product received by the market, but a lot of people in turn were affected financially. It also affected the whole property market in Hong Kong. So the regulator had to respond very quickly and they developed a lot of regulations. And Hong Kong itself, as a financial center, it claims it has been adopting a lot of international standards, Basel standard, IFRS, COSO, ESG reporting more recently, in order to ensure that it is in alignment with the global standards. So I think a book, very important book I always refer to is the book on global governance of financial system by Alexander Duhamel and Ewell. Okay, this is I think a very important book to how we have developed the global framework to regulate the financial markets. And Hong Kong has done, as I mentioned, IFRS is one of the earliest adopter of international financial reporting standards since 2005. Okay, reason being that Hong Kong is a very big stock market. It's been the platform for raising capital for mainland state-owned enterprises, so it would enhance the usefulness of financial information for the international investors. So you look at Hong Kong as global financial center. A lot of different kind of rankings. I think one of the most important ones is the Global Financial Center Index. You look at 2013, Hong Kong was number 3 among all the other rankings. The rival, of course, in Asia is Singapore. Hong Kong has been competing with Singapore, or Singapore has been targeting as a rival, as a financial center in Asia. So the Hong Kong government has been very sensitive about this kind of ranking as an indicator of their performance as a financial center. But you look at more recently, what happened to the ranking? Okay, well, in terms of competitiveness, Hong Kong is now, I think, in the current this year's ranking is now number 1. I think it's a report by IMD. Okay, and Hong Kong, however, has dropped in terms of the financial center ranking. Okay, it's now number 4 after Singapore. So it's a bit alarming for the Hong Kong government with that kind of performance. So we look at the ranking itself. Okay, Hong Kong's number 4, and what's it made of? Okay, So we look at the breakdown, how the index evaluates the financial center. Okay, they look into the business environment, human capital, infrastructure. In fact, Hong Kong still number 3 in these areas, but has dropped in terms of the reputation. Okay, so you can see Hong Kong has maintained this basic infrastructure in this competitiveness. However, there are some areas it is falling behind Singapore in terms of financial services and regulation, government regulatory capabilities. Okay, and this is an area Hong Kong government has recognized and has attempted to improve. And this is the a document by the Hong Kong government about the cornerstone of success for Hong Kong as a global financial center, and it's highlighted the regulatory framework has to be in par with the international standard. Okay, I think I was skip it. How about financial regulation in Hong Kong? Okay, as many of you to be aware, Hong Kong Monetary Authority (HKMA) is the de facto central bank of Hong Kong. It regulates all the licensed banks in Hong Kong. Yeah, so of course, it's Basel standard, the global standard for regulating banking. It has adopted, has become part of the law in Hong Kong. So banks from China, from overseas operating in Hong Kong, they are subject to this ordinance, the banking ordinance in Hong Kong, and they have to be in compliance with Basel. However, there are many assumed banks operating in Hong Kong, and they also raise a lot of capital listed with the Stock Exchange of Hong Kong. They are subject to not only the Hong Kong regulation, but also the mainland China's regulation. So they have to deal with 2 different kinds of compliance requirements. And this is a study I published in International Financial Review last year about it's a longitudinal study about how the regulatory system has changed over time. You look at the regulatory architecture of Hong Kong. There are 2 main regulators: HKMA, Monetary Authority, and on the right-hand side is Security and Futures Commission, which regulates the securities market, futures market. So, however, this is a specialized model versus the super regulatory model in UK, for instance. And there are a lot of criticism about this kind of structure. They do things very much on their own, except they have a memorandum of understanding. When the banks, they offer security business products, they have to be regulated by both institutions, HKMA and SFC. And so over time, if you look at what happened after the 2008 financial crisis, there are more, I would say, more stringent, more closer collaboration between the 2 regulators in monitoring the banks. Okay, because they criticize they don't communicate well enough to deal with issue like Lehman Brothers mini bonds incidents. So they have to do things like on-site inspection, history shopping, and more monitoring and approval process, and they have to collaborate closer together as the institution, okay, in regulating the banks. Why I'm showing this, I think this is the political economy behind Hong Kong. Before the new administration, you can see the ultimate regulatory body is the Financial Service and Treasury Bureau under the Financial Secretary. John Tsang was the Financial Secretary before. This was not in the, but this is, I think, supplementary information to be useful. And of course, you have the HKMA. Zhou Zhiqian was the former chief executive of HKMA, And he actually considered as the founder of HKMA to a certain extent. And then on the right-hand side, you have the SFC, headed by Ashley Elder. And so this is the structure before the new administration. As you know, we have a new chief executive this year. And after that, you can see that some changes, that we have a new financial secretary. Mr. Paul Chen is accountant by training, and Joseph Yan, the founder of HKM, is now a member of the executive council of the Hong Kong government, meaning that he will oversee strategically the development of the financial services sector. Okay. All right. So the strength of Hong Kong, okay, the platform, not only we have the architecture, but also.
A little bit more than 10 minutes.
Okay, thank you, sir. Now, this is the string. I highlighted 4 of them. Hong Kong has been raising capital for state-owned enterprises from the mainland. The first one in 1993, if you recall, is the Qingdao Beer. Qingdao Beer is now a global multinational asset management center for China and Asia, and offshore of renminbi settlement. And also, Hong Kong has relatively free flow of capital. Of course, China is still very much closed in terms of flow of capital freely. A lot of restriction and regulation on flowing of capital. Fresh for Hong Kong as a financial center, of course, I think it's the network. We talk about the network externality. Hong Kong is open. It's an open platform. So we're exposed to a lot of changes and dynamics in the global financial market very much instantly. And so we another threat is about sustainability, climate change, or the risk related to the threats that will affect the insurance company quite a bit. Cyber risk. Opportunities, of course, Hong Kong still maintains as the global financial center, and it would further enhance perhaps the development of China. There are many more multinationals doing transactions through the Hong Kong platform. And Hong Kong also trying to develop the green bond market these days, given the concern about sustainability and especially the environmental issue in China. So these are opportunities. They actually, there are more companies doing green bond issuing in the financial market. And of course, development of fintech. And this is also highlighted by the Hong Kong government about this potential. Actually, the new regulatory body, this is called Financial Services Development Council. It was established in 2013. It was set up to advise the government on strategic issues about the development of the financial market in Hong Kong, how to maintain Hong Kong's competitiveness. Okay, and also how to maintain Hong Kong as the global financial center for China. So that's very much the background. So what are the potential of fintech? So I just extract from the paper. Okay. So I'm not going to go into details, but I just highlighted this. You can refer these forming potentials and solutions offered by fintech. Okay, efficient payment process, robo-advisor like artificial intelligence applications, P2P, P2P loan, and crowdfunding opportunities. Okay, so I would like to highlight one thing about this potential. Okay, who are driving these beside the Hong Kong government? Who are investing in these ventures? If you look around all the startups funded by venture capitalists, they have very high hopes about this potential. And there are a lot of course, corporate investment behind these fintech projects. However, there are underlying concerns. Okay, these are relatively new products. There are regulatory uncertainties. Who are going to regulate these firms doing fintech business? Like they're doing crowdfunding. Okay, should it be the HKMA should step in, or should it be SFC looking into these ventures? They're going to raise capital through the internet, through the website. So there are a lot of outstanding issues to be explored and to tackle with in the future. And I think that another thing I would highlight for the auditors, they're seeing challenges in looking into the audit trails. Okay, there are a lot of transactions through the internet, and it's becoming more challenging for accountants to look into the evidence of transactions, who are really behind these transactions. So there's strategic responses by HKMA in the past 2 years. Okay, well, they basically strengthening the regulatory requirements on the existing banking operation, the e-banking operation. So they have this supervisory policy manual on risk management of e-banking, and they also have a directive to further strengthen the banking security. So this is more controls on unauthorized online transactions, and also they have the cybersecurity fortification initiatives, CFI. Okay, so these are all published by HKMA on this initiative. So you can refer to the paper on the details. So on the other hand, on one hand, they tighten the risk management. They also sort of embrace the innovation through fintech. Okay, so they announced they have established the fintech innovation hub. Okay, and this is to enable different stakeholders to collaborate, work together to develop the fintech solutions. And they are promoting more investment into the sector. And so the chief executive of HKM is suggesting that, well, they want to balance. On one hand, they want to have more market development of fintech. On the other hand, they want to have this developed in a more controlled environment, okay, given the risk involved in fintech. Okay, this is, you can see that the three main scope of strategic responses by HKMA in the past 2 years. And one thing I have to highlight here is the, on the very far right is the human capital development. So who's going to do audit and management control of these new solutions through fintech? Okay, are we knowledgeable enough, experienced enough in dealing with this transaction? Their knowledge related to programming, coding, new software development. We have the kind of human capital professional with that kind of training to enable them to, and competence, of course, to monitor and oversee these developments. Okay, and so with that. So the conclusion, as you can see in the paper, I think now the HKMA has, I think it's taken a very strategic approach. That's the theme of the paper I like to highlight. Is on one hand they want to embrace innovation through fintech to maintain its competitiveness in the region, but on the other hand they want to develop in a controlled environment. I call it sort of institutionalization of risk-based approach, and it's going to be developed throughout the sector. They're making all the banks to develop training and professional development. They encourage more professional have that kind of competency in the sector. So that we have the next generation cybersecurity talents. Okay. However, I think there are also potential flaws behind these development that we have to deal with in the future. Okay, so it's, we cannot have a homogeneous kind of approach to deal with this kind of risk. Just one more point, I think is from the COSO framework. We first thing have to do is identify the risk. Okay, I think given the nature of fintech, there are a different combination of possibility and solution and transaction, and so it's very difficult to identify all kind of risk behind fintech. So that's pretty much my paper.
Thank you.
But just 2 more slides to conclude.
Very quickly.
Very quickly. However, China, if you're aware, the orders the Bitcoin, okay? Well, there's a central bank in China, they want to stop this development. Okay, they forbid this further development within China. They think this is pretty risky. They don't know who are behind the Bitcoins, who are the owners of Bitcoin. And just last week, the chief executive of Hong Kong, Ms. Carrie Lam, was in London just 9 days ago. They signed this FinTech Bridge agreement with the UK government so as to promote more collaboration at 3 different levels: government level, regulatory level, and the business level.
Okay.
So we'll wait and see to see what will happen beyond that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.